You want
Welcome
to?
to the Aramir Roundtable. Today is the 22nd of April, 2019. So welcome everyone. We have Dan Harvey and Amy Meissner, two well-known people in the Aramir community. So welcome both of you.
Thanks, Tom. Good to
Thanks,
be here.
Tom.
And I guess you've got the disclaimer up. Do you want to go through it, or you want me to just whip through it real quick?
Go for it. You got you got it down pretty well.
Well, I do it often. So Aramir Corporation is not a broker-dealer or an investment advisor. This is for educational purposes only. Options and futures involve risks and are not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not indicative of future results. If you'd like to read the whole thing, pause the video or go to the bottom of any of our web pages. So with that, off you go. I'll be in the background, I'm muted, but I'll be here if there's any questions or any problems. So off you go.
All right, great. All right, so thanks for joining. For those of you who could join live, and of course this will be recorded and on the Aramir site in the library tab after the recording is done and posted. So Dan and I wanted to go through kind of. It's been about 2 months now, I think, Dan, since we started the weekly playbook.
I think so, about that.
Yeah, and so it's done really well, and we have quite a few subscribers. So we want to just go through a couple things. One, we want to talk about how it's been going and everything. And we also realized over those 2 months from input from subscribers and from some surveys that we've done that we wanted to kind of make a new and improved version of it. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about a lot today. But before we get started, for those of you who might not know who I am or who Dan is, we just thought it just a real quick recap of who we are. About me, I began trading stocks and options in the mid-90s, and I became a full-time options trader in 2006. I specialize in monthly income strategies that make consistent returns during a variety of market environments. Done many speaking engagements and presentations for numerous trading clubs and for educational services. And I also do trade alert services here at Aramir, including the weekly playbook and some other things as well. So that's a little bit about me. Dan, you want to mention a little bit about yourself?
Well, sure. Just very briefly, as it says there, not a lot to say, but I've been doing this for about 25 years since right after I retired from my medical practice. And like most people, started out with stocks and then covered calls, and then gradually moved in to a comprehensive of the style of trading options, which I've been doing now for 25 years. And I have been a mentor at another venue, and I've been teaching this for many years and have given lots of conferences and that sort of thing. And I, with Tom, am the co-host of the Road Trip Trade. And but I've known Amy a long time, and we're good buds, and we work well together. And so this was Amy's idea to launch this service, and I said, okay, let's do it. And so that's basically it. Here we are today.
All right, cool. Thanks, Dan. Okay, so just a quick overview of what we're going to go over in this presentation. So we're going to just quickly go over what the original weekly playbook concept was and the service that we started. Talk a little bit about the first strategy that we rolled out, which were the put credit spreads, and then and how that's been going. Then we're just going to talk a little bit about what we learned from our subscribers via input and surveys, and what we decided to do to include some more stuff, even though everybody seemed pretty happy, by enhancing the weekly playbook and giving a lot more detail, a lot more content, a lot more time with Dan and I, and of course, a lot more strategies coming. So that's what we're going to cover today. We'll start off with the original concept, just a review. The weekly playbook was originally, the concept was to come up with a number of short-term strategies to allow for opportunities for additional income each week. So very short-term weekly strategies for additional income. We wanted to keep the margin really small, so we didn't want to tie up a lot of capital. So actually, all of these trades that we're talking about can be done mostly in just one lot trades, which also makes for low commission costs since there's a small number of contracts. And we also wanted to keep things real simple. So everything that we've got in the weekly playbook is not only short term, but also very simple setups and simple management, and high probabilities to allow for that positive expectancy because of high probability and low drawdown, so that the account can grow over time. So that's the basic concept of the weekly playbook of what we want to accomplish here. With that, of course, we're going to have multiple strategies kind of given out over time. And the original concept was that Dan and I would do the work. We would utilize technicals and fundamentals for scanning and analysis, and then we would post those picks for our subscribers each week. And of course, the picks would be multiple trade setups for each of the strategies each week. So quite a lot of stuff going out. That is the original, like I said, the original concept. And some of the strategies that we were looking at were credit spreads, short-term butterflies like broken wings, unbalanced time bombs, things like that. Married puts and callers, directional plays such as just buying calls or puts based on trend or earnings, short-term condors, and there's actually some other interesting strategies that we talked about as well. So when we first launched the weekly playbook, we started with the wide put credit spread. We thought it was like a really good, simple strategy to kind of get things started. It had a really high success rate for income generation. And of course, just being a one-lot trade, it avoided tying up a lot of capital in this trade, and also avoided tying up a lot of capital because you don't have to own the stock for this strategy. So the guidelines for entering and managing the trade are really simple. And that it could also be used as a way of acquiring good stocks at a really desirable price. So it kind of had a double, purpose here for this particular strategy. So it was a good one to start with. So we've been doing this for a couple of months. So I just wanted to bring up, how we've been doing so far. So let's see here. Go to the weekly playbook page. And here we go. Here's the history page so far of all of the closed trades. I think there might have been one more that needed to be added. That was a positive return as well. As you can see here, I've gone through quite a few. Here's the equity growth chart. So it's obviously going in the right direction. Again, these are so really small trades. This is a one-lot trade. Of course, it can be done larger sizes. And so far, over the 2 months that we started, the account of $12,000 is what, and I don't think I've ever used that much margin for, at least for the class trades. I've never had enough trades on to really use that much margin on a weekly basis, but we put that up as the class account size. So based on that, $12,000 we're up about 15%, but I think I've only used about somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 at the most at any one time. So it'd be a little bit higher profit percentage for a smaller account. But overall, there were a total of 43 trades with 34 wins and 9 losses. As you can see, the average profit and average loss is small. Again, these are just we're just showing one-lot trades, so we're keeping things pretty small here, but they add up. And add up pretty nicely. So 15% in a couple of months, not too bad for one of the strategies. So that was the first of the strategies that we put out, and we wanted to do more. And the original version, let me just recap real quick what the original version that we actually ended up coming out with were to give guidelines and rules for each strategy that we came up with, and starting with that weekly wide put credit spread, which we did, multiple trade setups each week. So we were giving every week a couple of reports with different trade setups, weekly video recaps that Dan and I did to kind of cover what trades we had during that week. There's a private forum, so you guys could talk amongst yourselves. And of course, you can always ask Dan and I questions. There's also that Ask a Question tab on the home page there on the class page. And we also had some tips and tricks videos and some other tracking documents, such as, to track your trades and things like that, and tips and tricks videos such as, how to set things up in Thinkorswim as far as the orders and creating OCO orders and limit and stop orders and things like that of that nature. So that was the original version, and it's been going really well. But during that time, we learned a lot from our subscribers. That gave us, lots of input, not just, by asking questions and things like that, and offering some input, but also we also sent out some surveys. And the results that we got were actually really good. Most of the people were really happy. But there were a few things that people wanted to see. They wanted to see more candidates to choose from, which we did add an additional weekly report for that. But they also wanted to see a much deeper dive under the hood, like about how we're doing our analysis, how we're doing our scans. Instead of just having Dan and I do it ourselves and then give you the reports, they wanted to know, well, what if I wanted to do it myself or just have a better understanding of why you're picking these candidates? I want to really learn a lot more about that. So that was really important. And of course, everybody was anxious for, the next upcoming strategies that were going to come out. So then we also did an additional survey based on which strategies you might want to see next. So that was another survey that we did. So we got a lot of really good input from people. And of course, we want to listen to that and give you guys what you want. So we decided, okay, we're going to definitely give more choices so you can choose your own setup. So, we did come up with a Wednesday night report where we actually had more additional trade setups or trade candidates for you guys to set up. To start with, at least. That was the first thing we did. But, some other things we weren't able to get started right away we wanted to talk about, and that was giving you the more detailed information for each strategy and the more deep dive under the hood for scanning and analysis that goes behind it. And then, of course, get started on those additional strategies that we wanted to add. But we just really needed to figure out a way that we can deliver all of that to you in a way that made it logistically possible for us to actually do. And also not to make everything really overwhelming, not just for you guys, but for Dan and I. We want to make sure that we're doing a good job. We're giving you a lot of content, a lot of good education, but we can't make it too overwhelming for either of us or have so much stuff coming at you all at once that it becomes overwhelming for you as well. In addition, we also really wanted to add some additional stuff that you guys didn't even ask for, just more education that we thought of that would be really helpful, that we thought you would enjoy. So that brings me to the main topic here is the new and improved weekly playbook. So in order to do all of that, to give you all of those extra things and add more stuff on top, we really realized that we needed to split the weekly playbook into two complete separate sections in order to give you everything we were giving you before, plus add that additional content. And the way we're doing that is by splitting it up into two things. We're going to have live workshops with both Dan and I, and we're going to have a continued monthly membership, but it's going to be focused more on scanning. And we'll go over the details in that right now. So that's what we decided to do going forward. So first, let's talk about the workshops. There's going to be more than one, but we have to start with the first one. So the very first workshop is going to be made up of about 6 live classes. And the way we want to set that up is that we're going to have 6 live classes. The first meeting, we will go over strategies. And in this first workshop, again, we're going to have more than one, so we'll have other strategies coming up. But this first workshop, we're going to cover 3 strategies. We're going to redo the put credit spread because we really want to get more under the hood and give you more ways to trade that. We're going to do the call credit spread to kind of give you the flip side of that put credit spread. And we're adding one of the strategies that got a lot of attention in the survey that we sent out to subscribers that they really wanted to see, and that was the short-term SPX broken wing butterfly. And then for each of these strategies, we're going to go into a much deeper dive with detailed guidelines, entry, management, exit guidelines, and more than one management option if appropriate for some of those as well. So a much deeper dive into learning about the guidelines for each of these strategies will be covered. That'll be all done in the first meeting, class meeting 1. In the second meeting of the class, of the workshop, we will be covering scanning. So this is where you guys really wanted to know, you guys are doing all this stuff, but what are you doing? So we're going to cover all the different scanning tools we use, how we set them up, what they look like, so you can, do the same, and how to read the scans so that you can get the best selection to kind of move forward to the next step.
Didn't we also decide, Amy, that we would share the links to the scan?
Yeah. For the Thinkorswim, some of the scanning tools we use are just right in Thinkorswim, and we actually will share those scans because they allow us to do that. You can actually share a scan. We will share those as well, so you'll have that as part of the workshop as well, so you don't have to rebuild it from scratch.
Yeah, so for those of you that already are using Thinkorswim, you likely know how to import a scan. If you don't, we will tell you how to do that. And for those of you that are using another platform, you can either modify the parameters of the scan that we will show you, or you can get a Thinkorswim account which requires, I think, minimal funding to open up an account, and then you could import the scans into that and be able to utilize the Thinkorswim service, even if you're not actively trading through that brokerage. And I will also send out a scan of my chart setup that I use as my main go-to chart. So I will also send out the link for that at I guess the same time, probably.
Yeah. Well, that's actually what I was going to talk about next.
Oh, that's next. Okay.
So that was class meeting 2. So basically class meeting 2 is just going to cover everything you want to know about scanning for each of these strategies, including the shared TOS scans that we use as well. And then class meeting number 3 is going to go over all of the analysis that we do for each of these strategies, what tools we use, analyzing the charts, and that's where Dan mentioned that shared workspace for one of the main charts that we use for analyzing these. Let me just add TOS in there if you're using TOS, Thinkorswim. Oops, I forgot to type in the rest of this. So this is just choosing, helping to choose the candidates, using these, the analysis, using charts, also using other analysis tools outside of Thinkorswim to determine whether the candidates that showed up on the scans are still good candidates for actually entering a trade. So there's more of a process than just doing a scan. We still want to do analysis on those on the items that came up in the scan. We still need to analyze those and determine whether they still are good candidates for actually making a trade. So this meeting is basically mostly going to be talking about the analysis that we do in deciding whether some of the scanned results are going to be good choices going forward to actually put on a trade. And then we're also going to cover in that meeting choosing the trade setup routine, actually the routine that we do when we choose the trade setup as well. So like kind of going through our routine as well as an overview in that particular meeting. So that's meeting 3. And then in meeting 4, we're actually going to split that up into 2 meetings. And the first one's going to be kind of a live, everything's going to be live, but most of the meetings are done after market hours. In this particular one, we're actually going to do a meeting during market hours where we go through our routine from start to finish in real time. That means that we're going to scan, we're going to analyze the scanned results, we're going to pick the strikes and enter trades during market hours in a kind of a live mini class. It won't be very long because we're just going to go through the whole routine in real time so that you can see what we're doing. And then after hours for class meeting 4, so we'll have that, like I said, split up in 2. We will then recap what we did during that during market hours meeting and have a Q&A of that particular class. So you can ask questions at that point in time. So you get a little bit more out of that. And then finally,
I was just going to say, Amy, that during the live session, that would be a good time to be available to ask questions about the parameters of the scan, how you write a scan, the variables which are available for scanning, because if you learn the methodology for writing a good scan, I'm sure many of you may already have your own scans, but for those of you that that have not yet delved into the scanning process, you'll be able to see the parameters that we use and the way to write a scan, and then you can utilize that information to either modify what we give you or write your own.
Yeah, that'll be covered. Yeah, and that'll be covered in the scanning class. So all of these will be live meetings. I don't think I mentioned that before. Oh yeah, I did. All of the classes are live. The only one during market hours, though, will be this mini class where we go through the routine from start to finish. So that was class 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then 4 would be 4A and 4B. And then 5 is going to be kind of a bonus class where we're going to be basically having a class that's just dedicated to market tone and sentiment, which we think is an important thing that you guys should know, just overall. And in that class, we're going to talk about market internals, economic cycles, bond markets and yield curves, spider sector analysis, VIX term structure, and the analysis of major indexes. So that'll be a nice kind of bonus as well to go through. So that kind of covers, it'll be like a total of 6 classes, but one of them is that during live market hours kind of mini class. So that's what this particular first workshop is going to cover. And of course, these are the 3 strategies, the put credit spread, call credit spread, and short-term SPX broken wing butterfly. So that'll be the first one. Of course, we'll have more workshops coming up, but we got to get through the first one first. So just as a recap, 6 live sessions. Class number 1 will be on the strategies for that workshop. Class number 2 will be the scanning that we do for those particular strategies and everything you need to know about that, including what Dan was just talking about, the different parameters that we use. So if you want to make some changes to those. Then class meeting number 3, again, all through the analysis and also kind of recapping what our routine's going to be for the next morning, or not the next morning, for the next meeting. Class meeting 4A is that mini class that we're going to do during market hours where we go through everything in our routine, where we scan, analyze, and set up the trades. Class meeting after that, after market hours, for the class meeting 4, where we kind of recap what we did during the live market hours and go through a Q&A of that. And then class number 5, where we do the market tone and sentiment class, where we go through all of that. And then just want to mention also that during this workshop, which will be kind of going on for a whole month of May, is the way we believe we have it scheduled. We're going to be following, keeping track of any trade setups candidates that we find during the class. So we'll definitely keep track of that. So that'll be part of what we used to do in the monthly membership. We'll actually be pulling most of that stuff and then giving you more in the weekly Playbook workshop. So that's kind of how we decided to give you most of the bulk of the content will be in the workshop, so we can give you all that education there. And then, of course, the second part is we will still have a monthly membership, but that'll be dedicated more of a scanning service. So all the education will be done in the workshops, and the monthly membership will be a scanning service. So for those of you that take a workshop and you want to continue receiving our scans and our candidates that we choose, then those will be included in the monthly membership scanning service. We'll still have some tips and tricks videos for you. We'll have the private forum. And of course, if you guys are a member, then you will get a big discount for any weekly Playbook workshops that we come up with, including this first one, of course, as well. And then as far as when is all of this coming, obviously for the rest of April, we're keeping everything the same, weekly Playbook. So anybody who's subscribed right now is getting the same service that they were getting before throughout the month of April. The transition will begin on May 1st with the launch of the first workshop and the transition for the monthly membership to go into the scanning service. As far as the weekly Playbook monthly subscription that we have now, your sign-in will remain the same for the, wherever you're signing in. If you continue as a subscriber, it'll just you'll start getting all the scans in there. And as I said, all the education will be done in the workshops. And the new pricing that we have, which we do have a new lower pricing actually for the monthly membership, will take effect for any renewals starting April 28th or later. So anybody who's already a subscriber and you've got your renewal coming up on the 28th of April, it'll start then. And then, of course, anybody who wants to sign up, we have a link coming up here now, which also, of course, takes advantage of the new pricing. And then, of course, the weekly Playbook workshops are going to be priced completely separate. That's where, like I said, all the main education is going to happen. The first of these workshops, starting on May 1st, will be the first class. So we're hopefully you guys want to, of course, everything will be recorded, and you can watch them again in the recordings, but being there live and asking questions is always the best way to go. And so we plan to have that first class on May 1st. Talk a little bit about pricing. The weekly Playbook membership and scanning service, so that monthly membership, is going to be $79 a month. So that's the one where we're giving you, the candidates. So you look at the scanned candidates for each strategy as we introduce them in the workshop. So obviously this is going to be for the put credit spread, call credit spread, and of course you don't need a scan for the SPX, but we'll give a little bit of information on the SPX broken wing butterfly in there as well. So for anybody in that starting May 1st, you're going to get the candidates the scanning service for that. I don't know what else to call it. Scans, trade alert setups, or trade ideas, I guess is what you could call them. So all the list of stocks that we think are appropriate to which particular strategy, as well as, of course, your private forum and some tips and tricks videos and things like that, and the discount. The live workshops, those are going to be the workshop number 1 that we're starting with. It's going to be $347 for current subscribers that are already subscribed. And if you are a non-subscriber, it'll be $447, but it's actually cheaper to just bundle it together, and they work well together as well for $426. And those were the prices that Tom has put together in the following link. So here is the sign up. Is this correct, Tom?
Yep.
Aramir.com/WP.
WP, yep. And it's
So
not WordPress.
I guess, well, it stands for Weekly Playbook now. So that's what we have planned, and we believe that you're getting a lot of content for what would probably take several months through a monthly service, like probably in order to give you all of what we want to give you within that the workshops would probably take at least 6 months to get through all of that, and you're getting it kind of all in 1 month, starting May 1st. For probably what would end up to be less money than having a monthly service for 6 months. So we believe it's a pretty good value for what we're giving. So any questions and any other input you guys want to give, Dan and Tom?
Well, I just would mention one of the other things that I will also include, and be sure to remind me of this. That I'll include my own master list of stocks. Now, many of these would be available on Thinkorswim just by choosing weekly, and we'll show how to set up a watch list and how to sort a watch list, and how to add columns to a watch list. But this will be a list of, I don't know, maybe 200 stocks that is my go-to list, not only for credit spreads, but also for calendars and diagonals, and some of the earnings plays that I do. And so, but Amy and I thought this would be a good way to start workshop number 1. And then if we have interest in this, and if people like the workshops and the way that we do it, and the content that is given and provided, we could plan other workshop styles, strategies, I should say, down the line, such as, earnings plays, calendars and diagonals, um, setting up a condor structure instead of just a credit spread, and how to do that, not necessarily being perfectly balanced, and then a few other strategies like ratio spreads and things like that. So, but we'll see what the interest in this workshop is, and if people like what we have to offer, there may be more where that came from.
Yeah. And then I was just answering Norman in the chat, but just I'll just say it as well. Norman Smith was asking, am I correct that workshop number 1 is 5 separate parts, maybe 5 separate hours? And yes, so basically the workshop will cover all of what I mentioned there. There's that, there's a little recap of it. Here we go. Each workshop has multiple class meetings. So we're not going to do like one big marathon meeting of 5 or 6 hours. That would be a little too much for me and Dan. Plus we want to kind of cover stuff over time so you can see how these trades kind of progress. So we're actually doing the workshop as an extensive workshop where we go through multiple classes to cover all of the stuff that's in the workshop. So it'll end up equaling probably more than 5 hours of total workshop time. Can I pick and choose a workshop, Paul Yun? Yeah, so this is the first one that we have. So there's only one right now, but if we get enough interest, then we will include more workshops coming up after this one with, probably at least 2 strategies within each workshop. Just depends on how complicated they are. Well, they're all supposed to be pretty simple, but, probably at least 2, maybe 3 strategies per workshop. And they'll kind of be bundled the same way. So you get a lot of content, 5-6 hours worth of educational content in a live setting for each workshop. And you can pick and choose which ones you want. And if you're a member to the monthly service, whatever strategies we come up with, future workshops, those will be included as far as scans in the monthly service, whether you, join the workshop or not. But it'll make a lot more sense if you do join the workshop. So let's see here. Rick is asking, will you be, sorry, did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say Rick's question was next with the time zone trade.
Oh, yeah, that's actually I was contracted with the Options Tribe, SMB Capital, to do some video courses with them. Those are not live, those are just video courses. And that was my 4th out of a series of 4 that I did for them for the time zone. It's not really, it's not going to be included in the weekly playbook because it doesn't really fall within the category. It's short term, that's for sure, but it's not, we want to keep things, super simple. It's not that it's not simple, but it's not simple like the kind of simple that we're talking about for weekly playbook strategies. So it doesn't really, quite fit within the weekly playbook, and it's already a video course at SMB. So unfortunately that won't be included here.
Well, these workshop number 1 and any subsequent workshops that we do, the focus will be on simplicity and positive expectancy. We realize that there are many websites, many services out there. Many of them are good, some not so good. And what we are focusing on is number 1, simplicity, and number 2, positive expectancy, and number 3, low drawdown. So any workshops that we do in the future, even though they might include something a little bit longer in time duration, such as calendars and diagonals, the way that I do them, simplicity is paramount. I'd like to minimize, adjustments whenever possible. Preferably have no adjustments, but that will be our thrust for these workshops. And starting with workshop number 1, all the strategies that Amy mentioned, are simple, they're easy to understand, they're easy to set up, and that includes the SPX Broken Wing Butterfly, which is a basically no adjustment or possibly one adjustment trade, and they're cheap. And it either um, makes some decent money, makes a little bit of money, or you lose the debit, which will not be much. So again, simplicity.
Yep. And let's go through some more of these questions here. Terry's asking, is the price for the workshop for the 6 live meetings or must pay for each? No, it's just one price. The one price we mentioned is for all of those meetings. So it's the whole workshop is being done in 6 meetings because it's too much to do in one meeting. But there's only one price for it. So you get everything for that one price of $347 if you're a subscriber. Or just a little bit more if you're not a subscriber, or just subscribe and you'll get it for that amount. So yeah, you get a lot of stuff for just that one price. Let's see, how will IB users benefit from this? Wish we had TOS outside the US. It sounds very TOS oriented. Actually, it's you're still going to be learning the strategies. You don't have to do the scanning only in Thinkorswim. You can do it. One thing that you can do is you can sign up for just, I think, a paper trade account and use TOS just as the paper trader, and I believe you can just set up scans from that.
I'm not sure they can do that outside of the U.S.
Oh, outside of the U.S. Okay.
And I forgot.
Simon's in London.
Ah, I gotcha.
Yeah, and I have forgotten which countries, will allow it and which will not.
So they won't even allow paper trading. Gotcha.
Yeah, one workaround, if you're interested in the scans, of course, is to get a TradeStation type of account, because I'm reasonably certain, even though the details that we show will not be directly transferable to TradeStation, once you understand the parameters and the way that we set them up, if you have TradeStation, you should be able to go in there and set up similar scans. And also, they have their own scanning capability. So, the purpose is to give the details of scans that we use on Thinkorswim, but the larger purpose is to show how to think about setting up a scan to be able to retrieve a list of stocks that would have the potential for whatever type of strategy that you're using. That's the main purpose.
Yep. And let's see other ones. The pricing. I'm sorry if I tried to make this presentation make a little bit more sense as far as everything that you get within a workshop, but just want to reiterate again, you get everything for the one price in the workshop. And then when we have another workshop number 2, you'll get whatever price that is, which will probably be the same. You'll get everything in that. So like all the whatever class meetings are associated with that workshop. So
and you don't lose access to it. So once you buy it, even if you stop subscribing to the Playbook subscription, the workshops that you've bought are all that's perpetual access.
Yeah, they're actually, you can use this separate. You can have a monthly subscription that's separate from the workshops, but they certainly benefit each other. And if you're in the subscription and you skip a workshop, let's say you buy workshop number 1, but you skip number 2 because you didn't like the strategies, and then you're still a subscriber at some point and you buy workshop number 3, you're still grandfathered into the, you still get the discount for any workshop as long as you're a subscriber, if that's what you were asking, Mike. And you'll get access to the recorded workshops for whichever workshops you buy. So you always get that. It's in a separate classroom. So that way, if you want to just have the service separately and not do all the workshops, then you can do that. That's not a problem. Or just continue if you want to just get the scans and don't need a workshop, then that's okay too, but they certainly work well together. And then Simon's asking, will we be talking about power option setup? For the strategies that have a power options setup that's appropriate, yes, we will. And the put credit spread is one of those. So we will be talking about the power option scan setup for that particular strategy.
Yes, and then also, if this workshop number 1, which again, just to summarize, maybe help to avoid confusion, this is named workshop number 1, but there are 6 live classes within workshop number 1, and the pricing structure is for workshop number 1. And if this is well received, there will be a workshop number 2 and maybe a workshop number 3 and that sort of thing. And let's see, what was the question again that we were responding to?
I think you were talking about the pricing. Oh, the original one was about power options, I think was I was asking.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So yeah, there a power options screen will be one of the scans that we'll show, and then if we do have other workshops that might include covered calls or diagonals, I also use power options to find those or to help me find those. So yeah, we will talk about that. And then I see I may be out of order on the questions, but I see the question about CML Viz, and Tom, if Tom gets approval to show screenshots and usage of CML Viz, I use that. It's a good backtesting tool, and we could incorporate that into this workshop if we have the permission to show it.
Yeah, I think there's actually CML is the Capital Markets Lab or something. They have 2 products. One's their Pro, which is like a scanning thing. That's the one Rick was talking about. And then they have the trade machine. So they have 2 different products. But I think the scanning one is what he was talking about.
Well, they have the trade machine, and then they have the backtesting component. So the Pro is the one where you can scan by strategy, and you can also backtest with that. And then the other component, I think, is just the backtester, although they may have a separate service that I don't know about.
Yeah, it looks like there's 2. So I'll contact them, see if I can get them on a round table and maybe get a group discount. I'm always on the lookout for everyone. So
yeah.
And then I think there's just one more question here that Tom's asking. He wants to know if there's going to be time between workshops to get comfortable before taking on a new one. Yeah, we will. We probably want a little bit of a break too. So yeah, we'll have a little bit of time in between workshops. And of course, we want to see how well received the first one is. So we'll definitely have a little bit of time in between, but not too long. We don't want to keep you waiting too long. So, but we will do that. And again, this first workshop is the live. If you want to take advantage of live and ask us questions, it's starting on May 1st. So I don't know, Tom, if you included that in the sign up. The way, I guess I'll go in there real quick to this link. So Arrowmere.
Oop, oh, there you go.
Whoops. WP, here we go. Arrowmere.com/WP is the sign up here for this first workshop. The way Tom has set it up, I don't know if you put down when it starts. Maybe we should put that in there for the live one. But the way it's set up is that if you're a subscriber, I guess you click on, if you're already a subscriber to the weekly membership, Playbook membership, you click here so that you can save $100. So it's not $447, it's $347. And if you're not a subscriber, actually, I guess you click here, Tom.
Yeah, you can still save the $100, but you got to pay for the subscription, so it's net $21 cheaper, I think.
So if you click here, what does this do?
It goes to another order form, basically, where you get it's like a combination.
Oh, combination. Gotcha. Okay, perfect. And that's.
And if you go to the bottom, you'll see the price and what you're getting, the order.
So that's where you get, and then you'll get access to both the class page for the workshop, and you'll get access to the weekly Playbook scanning service where we do the scans for you. So.
Correct. And then for everybody who's got a subscription now, I'll be updating those in our e-commerce platform. So you don't have to you don't have to do anything. I'm going to do all that. So that's my job.
Great. So automatically the next time, and starting February, or starting April 28th, because I know there's a few subscribers on the 28th, and since that's basically the end of the, beginning of next month, starting April 28th, any renewals going on that date going forward, all you have to do is stay a member, and it'll just automatically be only $79 a month.
Yeah, the price will drop to $79 automatically. You don't have to do anything.
Cool.
And I won't double charge you, Rick, unless you want me to.
All right. Any other questions?
I think that's it.
All right. Oh, good. Well, I hope you guys, sign up. We're looking forward. It's going to be fun to do a live workshop instead of always just sending out messages. It's always fun to kind of get that real-time input from everybody. And, we always go a lot deeper into the subject when we have questions kind of thrown at us as well. So it really helps. So we hope you guys take advantage of that. And like I said, I think that, it's a lot of stuff you're going to be getting as opposed to waiting over 6 months or something like that for a monthly membership. You're going to get it all in about a month, because we're scheduling it throughout the month of May. So all of those 5 sessions totally? Well, actually it's 6 sessions will be scheduled in the month of May, and we'll include that exact schedule once we get everybody kind of signed up. And again, first class will start on the 1st of May. So we hope to see you guys there.
Well, I would say too that, we realize that $400 is a lot of money to put up these days. But I think I'm reasonably confident of what I'm about to say, and that is that if you go to some of the other services, educational, oriented services, I think, and naturally I can't mention any names, some of which I have purchased myself, which is why I know about prices. I think you'll find we are comparable, and I think you'll find, compared to the material that we're going to give you as a part of the service, as opposed to an upsell, I think you'll find this is a reasonable, reasonable pricing structure. And the other advantage I would point out is, and this is where I think we do differ from a lot of services, we're going to be here to answer your questions. I mean, we are here. And, Amy will be answering most of them, but I will answer some as well. And we work together. And that's something that we can offer. We will show you. We're not going to try to hide anything. We'll show you exactly what we do. Now, you may say, well, okay, I've seen what you do, and I don't particularly like it. And that's a possibility. But we're not going to hide anything from you. We will teach you whatever we know about these strategies. And that is one thing that is a little difficult to pull out of some services. Some will give you that. But anyway, we will. And so, as Amy said, we hope to see some of you join with us and work our way through the workshop. And again, if it's well received, there could be more in the future.
Yep. Yeah, we hope so. This will be kind of fun. So, and
I always ask myself when I'm thinking about buying something, am I going to get enough information out of this to pay for it? Is it worth the investment? And I think for $450 with the deep dive information, it only takes 1 or 2 little golden nuggets, and you can easily pay for a training like this.
Yeah, sure. I mean, with the just the monthly service that we did with the scans, it's 2 months, and of course, everybody's trades are going to be a little different, but just the ones that we sent out as trade candidates is up over $1,800, and that was doing the very conservative version of just getting out and not always doing an adjustment. So, and taking a small loss on some of them, where some people might have done a little of adjustment and stayed in and made some money or made less of a loss. So that certainly paid for a lot more than just the couple months that it was on. And hopefully we're looking obviously the same thing. You're getting 3 different strategies. So there's a lot of stuff here, and I've done the same thing. I mean, I know you have too as well, Tom. But I've seen you're always doing we're always interested in learning other strategies from other people and learning what they're doing and doing our homework out there. And I've joined, some different workshops and different services as well. And I think that here at Aramir, I have to say there's a lot of great people out there, but I think we do give a lot of information, and in some cases a lot more than a lot of these other places. Not that they're not valuable. There's a lot of great places. I'm not going to mention names, but I think the type of content, the amount of content, and the detail that we share in a lot of ways is a lot more than a lot of other services out there where maybe they eventually share it. I don't know, but it's usually you have to get, kind of upsell a lot to a lot of stuff before you actually get quite a bit of information out of some of these services. So Rick's asking, tell me if you bundle it, will be like every 3 or 4 months when you get the bigger bill. So I'm not quite sure what that means, Rick.
Oh, I think he's like looking for longer term discounts.
Oh, it's so deeply discounted, I think, for the amount of time that we're putting into it that I would say that we just decided to just make it as, a good value from the beginning. It's kind of like getting like stuff that we could do in a monthly service over 6 to 9 months. You're getting for the price of, $400 or less than that if you're a member.
It's like buying at wholesale at single units.
There you go. Tom's the guy that comes up with all these, what's the proper things. I trust him. Anyway, so that's it.
Oh, and Simon says, well, we need the TTM squeeze. I don't think so.
We actually use it and Dan uses it a lot in one of the chart setups that he has, but it's free, and we will talk about how it can be utilized in these as well. Not on its own, but in combination with other analysis that we do.
Right. I'll show you how I use the squeeze and how to set it up for the daily squeeze and the hourly squeeze. I can show a scan on which will show squeezes that have fired. And I will show you the way that I use it as stock approaches earnings. And, again, remember on the scanning service, Amy and we've already done the legwork, which means, first of all, we've identified candidates. Secondly, we've identified candidates that have good, rich premium. Thirdly, we have gone through a detailed chart analysis with respect to where the stock has been and where we think it is going and when earnings are coming up. Will they be impacted? Will the trade be impacted by earnings? Remembering that many stocks will have a so-called a run to earnings, which means that many stocks will begin to rise, as earnings approaches. And sometimes they'll rise, all the way into earnings, but sometimes they'll begin to rise, and then about 5 or 6 days prior to the release, the stock will drop like a stone. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, I would encourage you to look at some charts and you'll see that. Well, anyway, so Amy and I have already done all this. So that's what the scanning service does. And in the workshop, we're going to try to teach you that.
Yep, exactly. I think
Jansa's having a problem with the error message. I just sent him a. Actually, I just put in for everybody, just in case you're having problems with that redirect. This is where it's actually redirecting to. I'm not having any problems. Are you, Amy?
I'm going to click on it now and see. It seems to be working for me, which usually it doesn't. So that's a good thing. You know what?
All
I'm kind of wondering if maybe you can include that. I'll
put it in the replay and the.
Yeah, I was just going to say in the replay, and also you usually send out an email with the replay, like maybe there, and also in the replay in the library tab when that'd be great.
Yeah, and I'll also make a blog post and just put the recording on here with the link, so it should be easy to find.
Cool. Yeah.
And Jans, if you're still having trouble, just contact me directly, and then I can help you get whatever you need.
Great. Thanks, Tom.
All right. Is that it? I think we're out of questions.
I think that's it. Yeah. So yeah, we hope to see you guys in the first workshop, and yeah, it'll be fun. I think it's going to be fun, and
All
you
right,
know, good
everyone.
education.
Yep. We will see you next time then.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks a lot.
Right. Bye-bye.